Avery Collins believed she had finally found someone who understood her, and Lucas Merren knew exactly how to make her feel safe. What Avery didn't know was that Lucas was not the man he claimed to be, and his past was darker than anything she imagined. Every message, every kind word, was part of a plan already in motion. Inside her quiet Indiana home, trust was turning into a trap. As Avery began to sense something was wrong, time was already running out. Because once the truth surfaced, only one of them would make it out alive. Avery Collins was 26 years old, living alone in a modest house on the edge of Maple Hollow, Indiana, a town where days passed quietly and nights felt longer than they should. The street she lived on looked peaceful, lined with trimmed lawns and familiar faces, but Avery often felt invisible there. She worked full-time at a medical billing office, spending her days staring at screens and numbers, her life ruled by routine. Every morning followed the same pattern, and every night ended with the same silence. To outsiders, her life looked stable. Inside, it felt empty. She had moved to Maple Hollow less than a year earlier after ending a long relationship that had drained her emotionally. The breakup was not dramatic, but it left scars that made trust feel fragile. Avery promised herself she would be careful from now on. She avoided bars, avoided strangers, and avoided risks. Yet loneliness has a way of softening rules. When evenings stretched on with nothing but the sound of the television, her phone became her connection to the outside world. Avery spent hours scrolling through social media, watching other people's lives unfold. Engagements, vacations, smiles that looked effortless. She rarely posted, but often read comments and messages. That was where she felt least alone. Online, people noticed her. They responded. They asked how her day had been. It felt harmless, even comforting. Maple Hollow was the kind of town where everyone believed serious crime happened somewhere else. Doors were often left unlocked. Neighbors waved but rarely asked questions. The sense of safety was quiet but strong, built on habit rather than reality. Avery trusted that feeling. She trusted that nothing truly bad could happen to someone like her in a place like this. Late one evening, after another long day at work, Avery checked her messages and saw a notification from someone she didn't recognize. The profile looked normal, almost carefully normal. Clean photos, a relaxed smile, nothing flashy or suspicious. The name was Lucas Merren. His message was polite, thoughtful, and brief. There was no pressure, no flirtation, just a simple introduction that felt respectful. Avery hesitated before responding. She had ignored dozens of messages before. Something about this one felt different. Lucas did not rush. He did not overwhelm her. Over the next few days, his messages stayed consistent. He asked about her work, her move to Indiana, her plans for the future. He listened more than he talked. That alone made him stand out. Slowly, Avery began to look forward to hearing from him. His attention filled the quiet spaces of her day. When her phone buzzed, the house felt less empty. Lucas spoke about life as if he understood disappointment. He shared stories of moving from place to place, never quite belonging anywhere. Avery related more than she expected. The connection felt natural, almost too easy. Weeks passed, and the routine of her life began to change. Mornings started with messages. Nights ended with them. Avery felt seen again. She told herself it was just friendship, just conversation. Still, something inside her softened. The walls she had built after her breakup slowly lowered, brick by brick. Outside her home, Maple Hollow stayed quiet. Cars passed. Porch lights flickered on and off. Nothing looked wrong. Inside, Avery was stepping closer to someone she believed she knew. She didn't realize that trust was forming faster than caution. She didn't realize that every detail she shared was being noted, remembered, and stored. The house at the edge of the street, once just a place to sleep, was about to become something else entirely. Avery thought she was moving toward a fresh start, toward connection and comfort. She could not see the shadow forming behind the screen. She could not know that a simple message, answered on a lonely night, was the first step toward a chain of events that would end her life and change Maple Hollow forever. And at this moment, while everything still looked calm, the danger was already on its way. Lucas Merren slowly became a steady presence in Avery Collins's life, not through dramatic gestures, but through quiet consistency. He never missed a morning message, and never let a night end without checking in. His words felt measured and thoughtful, as if he carefully chose what to share and what to hold back. Avery noticed how patient he was. He never demanded attention, never questioned her when she took time to respond. That calm behavior made him feel trustworthy. Lucas painted a picture of a man shaped by hardship. He described growing up without stability, moving from place to place, learning early how to depend on himself. He talked about working construction jobs, rebuilding houses that reminded him of things he had lost. The stories were detailed but not dramatic, filled with just enough struggle to explain his quiet nature. To Avery, it sounded like a life that had been difficult but honest. As days turned into weeks, Lucas shared more personal details. He spoke about failed relationships, about being taken advantage of by people he trusted. He often mentioned how rare it was to find someone genuine. Avery absorbed every word. It felt comforting to be trusted with someone's past, even if it was shared slowly. She believed this was how real connections formed. The connection deepened without either of them naming it. Avery found herself thinking about Lucas during work, wondering what city he was in or what job he was doing that day. When she felt stressed, his messages grounded her. He always seemed to know the right thing to say. The attention filled a space she hadn't realized was still empty. Lucas began talking about being tired of moving. He said he wanted a place that felt safe, somewhere quiet. He mentioned Indiana casually, saying he had a short-term job nearby. He never said he needed help. He only said it was lonely being on the road. The way he spoke made Avery want to offer comfort without being asked. When he finally suggested meeting, he did it gently. He said there was no pressure, and that he understood if she wasn't ready. That alone made Avery trust him more. She thought about all the time they had spent talking, about the emotional closeness that felt real. She told herself that dangerous people rushed things. Lucas had not. Their first meeting was simple. He arrived in Maple Hollow with a small bag and a tired smile. He looked exactly like his photos, which eased Avery's nerves. His voice was calm, his manners polite. He thanked her repeatedly for meeting him. There was nothing threatening about him, nothing that raised alarms. When Lucas mentioned he was between places to stay for a few days, Avery felt torn. She thought about her empty guest room, about how safe her town felt, about how well she believed she knew him. She reminded herself that he had never been inappropriate, never made her uncomfortable. In that moment, kindness outweighed caution. She invited him into her home. At first, everything seemed normal. Lucas kept to himself, offering to help with chores and staying out of her way. He didn't bring friends over. He didn't go out much. He spent long hours on his phone or watching television quietly. Avery felt proud of herself for trusting someone again. She believed she had made a smart decision, not a reckless one. But there were small things she noticed and pushed aside. Lucas never made calls when she was around. He guarded his bag closely. Sometimes his stories shifted slightly, details changing just enough to feel off. Avery told herself memory worked that way. Everyone forgot things. She had no idea that Lucas Merren was a carefully built identity, designed to earn trust over time. She did not know that every soft word, every patient pause, was part of a pattern he had used before. The man sitting in her living room was not who he claimed to be. As Avery settled into this new sense of closeness, she believed she was finally moving forward. She did not see the danger growing inside her own home. She did not know that by opening her door, she had let in a past far darker than she could imagine. And once that door closed behind him, there was no easy way back. The shift in Avery Collins's home did not happen all at once. It crept in quietly, hidden beneath normal routines and forced smiles. At first, she blamed herself for feeling uneasy. Lucas Merren was still polite, still calm, still helpful around the house. But the air felt heavier, as if something unseen had moved in with him. Avery noticed how the house felt different when he was awake, how silence followed him from room to room. Small details began to stand out. Lucas slept lightly and woke at odd hours. He flinched when unexpected sounds came from outside. When Avery mentioned neighbors or coworkers, he seemed uninterested, almost irritated. His phone was always face down, and he never left it unattended. If Avery entered a room suddenly, he would stiffen before relaxing again. The stories he told no longer lined up perfectly. A job he once said lasted months became weeks. A city he claimed to have lived in changed names. When Avery gently tried to clarify, Lucas brushed it off as confusion. She wanted to believe him. Admitting doubt felt like admitting she had made a serious mistake. Avery's instincts grew louder at night. She found herself locking her bedroom door, something she had never done before. She stayed up later than usual, scrolling through her phone while listening for movement in the house. The safety Maple Hollow once promised no longer reached inside her walls. One afternoon while Lucas was out, Avery finally gave in to the fear she had been pushing aside. She opened her laptop and searched his name. Nothing came up. No work profiles. No public records. No trace at all. The emptiness of the results unsettled her more than anything else could have. A man with years of stories should leave some mark online. Her hands shook as she tried different searches. She used image tools, comparing photos, tracing digital paths she barely understood. Then a result appeared that made her stomach drop. The same face. A different name. Nathaniel Crowe. The information that followed came fast and brutal. Arrest records across several states. Charges for fraud, identity theft, and violent assault. Reports describing how he targeted women online, earning trust slowly before moving into their lives. One case mentioned a woman who survived an attack after discovering his real identity. Nathaniel Crowe had vanished before facing trial. Avery felt the room spin. The man living in her house was not Lucas Merren. He was someone who had done this before. Someone who knew exactly how to gain trust and exactly how to destroy it. Fear took over her thoughts. She replayed every moment, every message, every overlooked detail. She realized how carefully he had studied her. Her schedule, her habits, her kindness. The realization made her feel exposed, like her home had never truly been hers. Avery knew she had to act carefully. Confrontation felt dangerous. Calling the police felt risky, while he was still inside the house. She told herself she needed time, just enough to find a safe way out. She began acting normal, hiding her fear behind routine. Every sound felt louder. Every glance from him felt sharper. That night, Avery barely slept. Her mind raced with escape plans. She thought about asking a friend to visit. She thought about leaving quietly in the morning. She thought about everything she should have done differently. Regret weighed heavily on her chest. Nathaniel sensed a change. His behavior shifted subtly, but Avery noticed. He watched her more closely. His movements felt deliberate. The calm mask she once trusted seemed thinner now, stretched tight over something darker. Avery realized too late that discovering his secret had placed her in immediate danger. She never got the chance to leave. The house that once felt like a safe beginning had become a trap. Avery Collins had uncovered the truth, but truth offered no protection now. The danger she invited inside was no longer hiding. And in the quiet of Maple Hollow, behind closed doors, the situation was about to turn deadly. The final night began like any other in Maple Hollow, quiet and uneventful, with porch lights glowing softly and the street resting in familiar silence. Inside the house, Avery Collins moved carefully, every action measured, every breath controlled. She acted normal, forcing routine where fear had taken over. Nathaniel Crowe watched her closely, noticing the tension she could no longer fully hide. The air between them felt tight, filled with unspoken awareness. Avery's mind raced as she moved through the house. She thought about leaving, about grabbing her keys and walking out the door, but she knew he would notice. The realization that she was trapped settled heavily on her chest. Her home no longer felt like a place of comfort. It felt like a sealed room closing in on her. As the evening stretched on, Nathaniel's behavior changed. The calm patience Avery once trusted was gone. His movements became deliberate, his presence heavier. He stayed close, watching, waiting. Avery understood then that he knew. Somehow, he had sensed that his secret was exposed. The careful balance he maintained had broken. What happened next was fast and merciless. The attack was not fueled by panic or rage, but by control. Investigators later believed Nathaniel acted with intention, eliminating a threat the moment he felt exposed. Avery was overpowered in her own living room, the place where she once felt safest. There was no chance to escape, no time to react. Outside, the street remained still. No one heard anything unusual. The violence ended as quickly as it began, leaving behind a silence heavier than before. Avery Collins lost her life in the house she trusted, betrayed by the man she believed she knew. Afterward, Nathaniel moved through the home with chilling focus. He wiped surfaces, gathered his belongings, and searched for anything that could trace back to him. He took Avery's phone, wallet, and car keys. He attempted to make the scene appear like a random break-in, creating just enough disorder to mislead at first glance. Instead of fleeing immediately, he waited, listening, making sure the night remained quiet. Then he left, driving Avery's car out of Maple Hollow as if nothing had happened. The town slept, unaware that a calculated murder had just taken place. Morning came, and with it, concern. Avery did not show up for work. She did not answer her phone. A routine welfare check turned into a crime scene. Police entered the house and quickly realized this was not an accident. Avery's life had been taken with intent. The discovery shocked Maple Hollow. The peaceful image of the town shattered instantly. Neighbors struggled to understand how something so violent could happen so close, so quietly. Investigators began piecing together Avery's final days, uncovering the online relationship and the man who had lived with her under a false name. As evidence surfaced, a clear pattern emerged. Nathaniel Crowe had done this before. He targeted women who lived alone, who showed empathy, who trusted easily. Avery was not a random victim. She had been chosen. Surveillance footage soon showed Nathaniel abandoning Avery's car across state lines. Credit card activity appeared briefly, then stopped. He vanished again, slipping back into the shadows under another identity. The case expanded beyond Indiana, becoming a multi-state manhunt. For Avery's family, the truth was devastating. Every message, every kind gesture she shared online became part of the investigation. The kindness that defined her life had been weaponized against her. The night Avery Collins was murdered marked more than a personal tragedy. It exposed how dangerous trust can become in the wrong hands. The calm before that night had been an illusion. The danger was never sudden. It had been invited in, patiently, step by step. And as Maple Hollow struggled to return to normal, one truth remained clear. The man responsible was still out there. And the story was far from over. The days after Avery Collins's murder moved slowly, weighed down by shock and unanswered questions. Maple Hollow no longer felt like the quiet town people believed it to be. Fear spread quietly through the community as news traveled beyond Indiana. The idea that a man could enter a woman's life so easily, live in her home, and disappear after killing her unsettled everyone who heard the story. Detectives worked relentlessly, rebuilding Avery's final weeks piece by piece. Her phone records revealed the long trail of messages that led Nathaniel Crowe into her life. Each message showed patience, consistency, and careful manipulation. Investigators described it as a textbook love scam, one designed not just to steal money, but to gain complete access and control. Avery had been studied long before she was harmed. The case quickly crossed state lines. Surveillance footage showed Nathaniel abandoning Avery's car in Illinois. From there, the trail went cold. He had used stolen credit cards briefly, then vanished again. Every identity he used was fake. Every move showed experience. Authorities warned the public that he was dangerous and highly skilled at deception. Months passed. Leads came and went. Tips poured in from across the country, but none brought answers. Avery's family lived in a painful limbo, waiting for justice while reliving her final moments through evidence and reports. The house where she died stood empty, a silent reminder of how quickly trust had turned fatal. Then, hundreds of miles away, a routine traffic stop changed everything. In Arizona, police pulled over a man for a minor violation. He presented identification that seemed legitimate, but something felt off. A fingerprint check revealed the truth. The man was Nathaniel Crowe. His arrest sent shockwaves through the investigation. He showed no emotion as he was taken into custody. Once extradited to Indiana, prosecutors laid out the evidence. Digital records, surveillance footage, forensic proof, and past victim statements formed an undeniable pattern. Nathaniel Crowe had been running this scheme for years, leaving damaged lives behind him. During the trial, the full scope of Avery's case became clear. Prosecutors showed how Nathaniel used empathy as bait, how he mirrored emotions to gain trust, and how he eliminated anyone who threatened to expose him. Avery had not been careless. She had been targeted. The verdict came swiftly. Nathaniel Crowe was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom remained silent as the sentence was read. There was no apology, no explanation, just finality. For Avery's family, justice brought no comfort, only closure. They worked to ensure her story would not be forgotten. Her case became part of national awareness campaigns, warning people about online love scams and emotional manipulation. Training programs for law enforcement began using her story to explain how predators gain trust before violence occurs. Maple Hollow slowly returned to routine, but the sense of innocence was gone. Doors locked more often. Neighbors checked on one another. People became more cautious about who they let into their lives. Avery's story had changed the town forever. Avery Collins was remembered as kind, hardworking, and hopeful. She believed in giving people chances. That belief cost her life, but it also saved others. Her story exposed a danger that hides behind patience and affection. This was not a crime of sudden anger. It was calculated, planned, and preventable through awareness. Avery let a man into her home without knowing his past, trusting the version he carefully created. And that decision ended in murder. But her story lives on as a warning, reminding everyone listening that sometimes the greatest danger arrives quietly, carrying kindness in one hand and death in the other.